So I started my career in communications. I was a media advisor and a speechwriter. The more I dealt with lawyers, the more I spoke to them, that it just became more and more fascinating what they do, the type of advice they can do, where they are in the process. And I thought at the end of that, unlike everybody else who never wanted to speak to a lawyer again, that I would really like to be a lawyer, and I started studying law. And I was doing something totally different, something completely different than what I'd done before. And I found that very difficult and very challenging at the time. I found the simplest thing that I used to know how to do to be incredibly burdensome and exhausting and draining, and I felt very unsure of myself for the first time in a very long time. I thought I could cope with it. It wasn't until I couldn't that I realized that sometimes it's about recognizing that everyone has limits and admitting that to yourself first, and then being able to have the conversation with other people. And so during that time, I found myself feeling a bit low, and I had a conversation with my wife and also with some friends, and they noticed that things were a little bit different. And even though I wasn't seeing them as much as I used to because of the study, that even then when I did see them, that I was quite stressed out, or I was not as engaging as I usually was, or that the things that used to excite me didn't excite me to the same degree. I spoke to a mentor of mine who said, well, look back at your last week and how much time have you actually spent doing the things that really make you feel happy and feel alive? The first time we spoke, he sort of picked up on that things weren't quite as great as they could be. He knew I was in a difficult situation with work and study, and he just told me about his experience intuitively. But it was never a, this is exactly what's happening, here's my advice to you. It was more, these are the types of things that you confront, and these are the types of things that I went through. And just even listening to his experience made a big impact on my experience to put things in perspective. And I think the funny thing is, him being a judge, he was not very judgmental in that way, as you would expect. And that was, I guess, refreshing in that sense, because as lawyers, we're trained to be people who have good judgment.